Hey guys, welcome back to RMA Garage. I'm Mark and I'm glad you joined us today. Consider subscribing if you enjoy this type of content. In today's video, we're going to be talking about my 2016 YZ250FX. Now, I had a problem with it. I rode all the way out to my riding spot and it wouldn't start. And it was an electrical issue. So in this video, we're going to go through what I found, how I started to fix it, what worked, what didn't work, and what ultimately the problem was. So if you guys want to find out, please stick around. All right, guys, so a little bit of monologuing here, but I want to tell you the story and I'm going to show you some things and we'll kind of go through this step by step and I'll tell you what I found and the ultimate solution that was very simple. So hold on till the end. So I took my bike out to my riding spot and I went to start it up and nothing. I heard a little bit of clicking and buzzing underneath the seat. I wasn't sure what that was, but immediately I thought, great, maybe a relay broke or maybe something is up. So I took the seat off and I started fiddling with some wires, tighten screws, make sure that the terminals were good. Basically just doing an ancillary visual inspection, found nothing. So frustrated that I had driven an hour to my riding spot and couldn't ride, I tried to kickstart it and it started right up. Well, I thought, well, maybe the battery just was maybe a little low and it couldn't, turn the starter motor. And so I thought, great. So went riding. There was one point in which after about an hour of riding, it started spitting and sputtering, low on power. And I thought, well, this isn't good. So at risk of getting stuck in the woods somewhere in a gully or in a valley which I couldn't get out, I rode back to the truck, kind of did another visual inspection and realized, well, maybe something's up. I need to take it home and go through it and see what was going on. So I immediately checked the battery. I thought, well, maybe the battery wasn't plugged in because we use a battery tender and we have the pigtail always on the bike. And I leave it plugged in 24/7 when we're not using the bike. And I've done that for years and I've never had any issues. So I plugged the battery in on the workbench and I let it sit for a couple of hours. And the LED indicator on the tender said, you're good to go, green light, all charged. So I thought, great, maybe it just wasn't topped off or maybe one of the kids unplugged it. I wasn't sure. So nevertheless, I figured that the battery was good. So took the body panels off and the first thing I did was take the starter motor off, which is down here in the front of the engine. I took it out and I've watched a couple of videos on how to bench test them to see if you can get them to spin, and mine would not spin at all. I couldn't get it to react at all. So I put that on the parts list. Okay, maybe we need a starter motor. So I ordered a starter motor. I plugged it in, nothing. I got nothing. So, but still using the same battery that gave me the green light from the battery tender. So I thought, well, maybe it's the relays. So I bought some relays. This one here is the actual starter relay, and I'm gonna I'll show you on the bike here where those are located. I got this starter relay, which is under the seat, and then we've got, so this one, I believe, this is another relay. This one is the starting circuit cutoff relay. So that's another relay that could have been suspect. And this one is radiator fan motor relay and the main relay. So in these relays are exactly the same. So when you order them, they're the exact same relay. So I thought, well, I'm buying them, they're not very expensive, so I bought all 4 new ones, 4 relays. I ordered them in, took a couple of more days, and I plugged them into the bike, and I hit the starter button with the original battery, which I thought was still good. Nothing. So at this point, I'm really frustrated because I've got a starter motor that was probably $250. The relays were about 10 bucks a piece, and I still have no start. So I'm looking at the battery, and I'm thinking back to when I was riding, and I remember that it was spitting and sputtering. Well, that wouldn't have had anything to do with the starter motor or the relays per se. Maybe the battery is not charged enough. Maybe it was the charging electrical system or the stator. But I do remember, and I'm going to leave a link below, Las Vegas Romaniac is a YouTube channel, and he was talking about something wrong with his battery. And I'm going to put a link to it below. And I had something similar to the fact that it wouldn't start with the starter, but it would kick over. And it was kind of interesting because I wouldn't have thought that if the battery was dead that it wouldn't have started the engine. So at this point, I'm like, is it the battery? So I grab a battery. This is a 2016 FX. I have a 15 FX, and the battery, I took the battery out of his bike and I put it in this one, and it started right up. Boy, was I upset. I was thankful that it wasn't broke, but I had spent money on things that I don't know if I needed or not. So I bought a new battery and I put it in. This happens to be the old battery, and this is YZ, if that's how you say it. I don't know how you pronounce it, but I went with factory battery. This battery was the original battery in the bike. This battery is 6 years old. Well, when you think about it, it's 6 years old out of a motorcycle battery that really spends a lot of its life sitting instead of being used is not bad. But when I dropped the new battery in, it started right up and there were no issues at all. So the takeaway on this is that where I went astray was I was able to kickstart it at my riding spot because I still wanted to ride. And I completely ignored the fact that the battery, even though it was charged according to the battery tender, it didn't have enough useful amperage to basically start the engine. Now, we'll never know if the starter motor was bad or not. That could have been maybe it was going bad at one point in time, but I had since gotten rid of it. I threw it away. I even took it apart to see if maybe there was something strange in it, and it was really filthy dirty. The comm was really bad. I mean, it actually did look suspect, so for the sake of this video, I'm gonna say, yeah, the starter motor was bad. But the phantom here and where I bought the relays was the battery. So apparently with these bikes, the battery has to be in a state of charge that if you can start it with the starter, you're ready to go. But if the starter doesn't work and you kick it over and you start riding and there are issues with riding, bogging down, misfires, backfiring, you're gonna wanna get a new battery right off the bat before you do anything. Now, along with replacing all of these relays, I'll show you here in a second, and I'll pan to what they are. They have on these bikes, they have what they call common blocks. And there are wires that go into these blocks that are soldered, and they all basically connect together. In some of the forums that I had read, these blocks can sometimes get corroded and the wires lose contact. I spent 2 hours, again, even taking apart these relays and cleaning them, taking apart the common blocks and cleaning them, doing all this work on this bike, putting new dielectric grease in all the leads and all the contacts, looking at all the fuses and making sure everything was fine. And I didn't need to do that. Of course, now that it's done, I feel pretty good about it. But I didn't really want to do it. I wanted to ride my bike. So the takeaway on this is that if you have any issues with the starter, if the bike doesn't want to start, swap in a new battery. Whatever reason, I don't know why, I just overlooked the battery right off the bat, but try a different battery, try a newer battery, take it to a dealership, maybe they have a new battery, or use somebody else's. but check that first before you go and spend the time to replace the starter, to replace the relays, to go through the whole system. So again, guys, I just want to let you guys know that this is the problem that I had and this is how I dealt with it.